Okay, the benefits of baby sign language. Babies who sign can communicate before they can speak, right? It basically is the bridge between when a child is understanding things cognitively, but vocally they are not physically able to speak yet. Sign language bridges the gap so that communication can happen. And so frustration that naturally occurs when there's a lack of communication is greatly reduced. And so is that frustration. Contrary to what many have believed, it has been proven conclusively that babies who sign speak earlier than those who don't. So let me say that again. Babies who sign not only don't have a speech delay, instead the opposite. They speak sooner than their hearing counterparts that don't know sign language. For years and years, doctors, audiologists would tell hearing parents of deaf children not to sign because the deaf children would then never learn to speak. Throughout the years, they've figured out that this isn't true. In fact, the opposite is true. If a child is exposed to language earlier, then they can pick up language a lot easier. So when sign language for hearing babies started to come out, the #1 question was, well, I don't want my child to be delayed with their speech, because there was that misconception. And so a lot of research was done about it, and they found out that not only is that not true, but the opposite is true. There is sometimes reason that a parent will get scared thinking that their child is signing and not speaking, when a lot of times that's not really what's going on. So we'll go into that in a little more detail in a minute. All people involved are less frustrated because communication is happening. The children have an enhanced self-esteem because they feel understood. When there's a two-way communication going on, children are going to feel more empowered. They're going to be more apt to explore, experiment with language, and their development is likely to soar. They actually have been shown to have higher IQ scores. Depending on which statistic you look at will depend on the actual number of IQ points. It varies from study to study, but it has been shown to have a positive effect on IQ scores. I think that, and this is my own speculation, the reason why is because this bridge is there, and so that's able for little ones to actually make these connections earlier, so that when the connections are made, then they're allowed to focus on more. They're allowed to explore even more than they were able to before that, and so they're a step ahead. Babies will actually develop larger vocabularies as well as having a head start on language acquisition. As you know, as most of you probably know, children a lot of times love to learn. They're curious about things, and they're not inhibited, scared that they're going to look or feel stupid when they're babies. That's something that's learned later on. And so they'll actually want to experiment with language, and as if they have more of that earlier, they're able to connect the dots earlier, then they're going to want to know more. And so they'll ask more. And so children will, okay, no, I get this, so now I've mastered that, so what's next? Instead of, if that bridge is not there, then that whole process is delayed because that expression through sign language is not there. So they actually have larger vocabularies. It becomes this wonderful game that they want more of. Oftentimes, children will demonstrate a greater interest in books and have better imaginations. Again, because this gap has been bridged, that allows for more exploration in other ways, cognitively. And so, a lot of times they'll want to read and then want you to show them the signs for things. As well as, then then that is developing their little minds to make these connections, to think abstract thoughts and to have these imaginative possibilities. Teaching your baby sign language. Babies are as individual as adults. There is not an exact science to teaching babies sign language because all babies are different. That's so often parents, oddly enough, want the best for their child, and so often they're so worried that they're going to teach incorrectly. What's the correct way to teach their child? There's definitely guidelines, and that's what I'll be showing. But all babies are different, and so you have to take that into account. Even with siblings, there's such a difference between the way that each one learns, their own, how they receive information, put out information, personalities, environmental factors. There's a lot there. For parents who don't know sign language, I say do what works, more than being so afraid that they're going to do it wrong they end up not doing it. There's a lot of resources out there. Most people have internet, and so you can actually just get on there, Google it. You know, there's a lot of other resources too, specifically for baby sign language. Look it up, do it. If you're wrong, it'll be a lot easier for the baby to fix it than it will be for you to fix it. Once you figure out that you're signing it incorrectly or something, then you fix it, baby will pick up probably quicker than you will. Don't worry about it so much if you don't already know sign language. For parents or adults who are learning sign language, specifically ASL, remember that some signs need to be modified for little hands. Just as we will modify words for children as they're developing, that we also can modify signs to a certain degree. For example, and I'll show more later too, the sign for airplane is this, right? It's like an I love you hand, but then the fingers are down a little bit and it moves twice like this. This is a hard handshake for really young ones to do. They can when they're older, but little ones, it's hard. For you to just do a flat, closed hand like this is fine. They're going to get the concept. And as soon as they can understand that there would be a difference, then you can actually incorporate the actual sign. Just as you might say a name a little bit differently because it's easier for a child to say and that kind of thing.